Time for another Soccer Down Here 1v1. Time to catch up with an old friend. When I was in the booth with Jason Longshore at the Fraction, Fifth Third Bank Stadium, we got to call some games with this guy, Coleman Gannon, Columbus Crew 2. And much like the interview that we had with Marco Micheletto that also is going to air on, that's also airing on the network, you've got a buddy off to your left. You got a new friend.
Yep.
That shiny thing is you and I are staring at each other. What's it like when you stare at Columbus Crew 2 and everything that you guys did to earn the inaugural MLS Next Pro championship trophy? What's that look like?
Yeah, I think that it's pretty crazy because in terms of the work we put in and how early we got here for preseason and everything, I think it was kind of meant to be. Like we had all these double days and we knew that we were the only team training like that early, and it was yeah, I feel like it's just the work coming and showing itself, I guess.
What was the biggest culture shock for you? You know, when you were down here in the Southeast, it was one thing. Then there was the talk about going to school. Then you went pro. What was the biggest culture shock for you there to be a part of the Columbus organization?
Um, it's cold. When I got here, like the first night, it snowed, and I was like, it's not the South anymore." But yeah, um, I think that if you play in an MLS academy, you're sort of groomed for like second team and then eventually first team football. So, and I don't think it's too different between MLS clubs. So I think that when you get the chance to play professionally, and grateful for Atlanta United for letting me play with the second team, I think it really like kind of eases the transition into it.
So, what did you learn about yourself from your time here with Atlanta United too that you carried with you to your time in Columbus? I guess we'll take this in two stages. Leaving
Yeah.
Atlanta United, what did you learn about yourself as a professional footballer that you could take with you?
I mean, I'm gonna say work rate, of course. I think I really learned that in Atlanta because the inaugural year of Atlanta is like academy. I went to try out and I was probably like 12 or 13, and I was not picked up. And it kind of put a chip on my shoulder, and that was always the goal. And so when I came back 2 years later, I was like, well, and I just like, I don't know, I've had this kind of grind ever since. And so I think that Atlanta really gave me that, whether it was, I don't know, like the opportunity to play with the second team, the academy. It's something that they preach, and I'm really grateful for all those coaches that I had. So I would say just the ability to persevere through the tough moments of your career.
So then now with your time in Columbus, what have you been able to work on and improve in this step in your career?
Yeah, it's different for sure. It's once you're like officially pro, it's not like, oh, well, he's a young academy guy playing. Like there's the expectations are different, I would say. You're supposed to day in, day out execute and perform, and it's not, the young guy anymore. You're part of the squad. And so just adjusting to that, I would say, and figuring out your consistency and, not being a young guy anymore and stepping into more of a role for the younger guys. If we have academy guys training with us, being able to lead them a bit.
What's it like learning from a guy like Laurent Courtois? Because he has been able to do pretty well at the soccering as a
Yeah,
professional athlete. What's it like to learn from Coach Courtois and their staff, and how has that been helping you with your process?
it's been really good. It's always great to have an ex-player be a coach because they understand the ins and outs of the game a lot better. Or yeah, a lot. And I think that just yeah, I think tactically he's really good. Like you could see in all our games and stuff, and he's figured out. And it was really just about like buying in, I would say, to the formation and the way the play style. And once everyone was on board, I think that things started to click and flow. So yeah, so I would say.
What was it like being a part of something new? MLS Next Pro, its first year, these kinds of things. What was it like with all of these guys getting together in the snow in Columbus, getting ready for a season, and then grinding your way to a championship? What was this whole experience of being part of something new like for you?
Yeah. It was really exciting. Obviously I had experienced the USL, and I was very interested to see how the league would turn out, what the quality would be like, what the difference in style and ability and all of that. And I think that obviously the USL is a really physical league, and I was
Yeah,
interested to
a
see
lot of folks still remember a body check that you took from a Croniale in Birmingham from Atlanta.
I remember it as well. Yep. Straight into the boards. That was a gamely type of thing, you know. And I think that I would say the difference is just like whereas there it was, you know, physical football, a lot of kicking it for the other some teams and yeah, like that type of thing and just grown men and but in the MLS Next Pro it's more like I'd say tactically it's better and technically it's probably a bit cleaner, but I mean there's it's a little bit less of that, you know, man's game physicality type thing of a pro league, I would say.
When you look at what you were able to accomplish, 3 losses on the year, starting out early with the loss against Inter Miami, and then basically pretty much running the table from that point. Did you guys as a club sit there and take a minute and sit there and go, wow, okay, things are really coming together for this group of guys that were just put together in January? Were you able to enjoy the process as you were chasing a championship, or was it pretty much, all right, got to win, got to get this next one, get this next one, get this next one, get this next one? What was that like?
Yeah, I think it's the latter. I think that, you know, every game was a must win for us, I guess. You know, it just felt like you really want, I don't know, like that. I feel like each loss was a kind of a failure, you know, you had to win every game kind of type of thing. And that was the standard, and we didn't want to let it go. So I think that every game was, you know, good to go in that mentality.
What was it like for you to be a part of something new? I mean, you sit there and it's like, okay, this, do you think of yourself as someone who enjoys being a builder as a part of a process, or is it, the adventure? How would you characterize yourself as an individual in these situations? Is it for the adventure, for the career? Are you a builder? How do you think you would view yourself as a part of this franchise?
Yeah, I mean, I like the adventure, to be fair. I like that idea that it's like a new thing that we're creating. And to be the inaugural winners is something special. You know, no other team will be able to do it. We did it. And it's exciting. And I think that it's a great path to a first team, obviously, and to the MLS minutes. So, yeah.
All right. So then let me ask you this. What do you think you still need to work on when it comes to the rest of your game, knowing that I know that you in your mind, you have a pathway and
Yep.
you probably have timetables. You want to sit there and it's like, okay, I want this marker by this point, this marker by this point, this marker by this point. We talked about what you've been learning. What are those next things that you think you need to learn?
I think just being consistently productive with uh, on the field in terms of like efficiency and all those things and, you know, getting a goal or an assist as much as possible. And, you know, I'd say just affecting the game as much as I can. Yeah. And doing that consistently.
Where are you more comfortable? Or are you the left-hand side, the right-hand side? How are you viewing your game these days? Because down here in the Southeast and when you were in USL, it was like, okay, this match we need you on the left, this match we need you on the right. We've seen some things over here. We'll get
Mhm.
you on the opposite foot so that way you can drive to the inside and fire
Yeah.
away. Where do you think you're more comfortable in system right now?
I'm pretty ambidextrous, I'd say. So both sides are pretty
That's the
interesting.
answer that coaches want to hear. Doesn't matter what side you put me on.
Yeah. Obviously in Atlanta, I played a bit of 10 as well, and I enjoyed that a lot. We play different formations. There's not a spot for that, but I like both wings as well. Yeah. So all of those.
So when it comes to your growth, and we've talked about the various stages in it. Have you been in a position where you've been the older guy helping younger guys out in situations like that? How much of a mentor have you been able to be for those around you there in Columbus?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I just went through it. You know, I'm still 19, still young, but these guys are going through exactly what I went through 1 to 2 years ago. So I think it's helpful to, be positive with them, and they're gonna have moments where it's not as easy and it's tough, you know, adjusting to older men and stuff. And I think that you can help them out by just,
Well,
by giving them a positive take.
yeah, and I mean, what's it like for someone who's 19 to put their arm around somebody who's 17 or 18? But it's like, dude, I was just there. I know what's
Yeah.
going on. What are those conversations like when you can sit there and take somebody to the side and go, okay, try this, and this because I've been there. What's that give and take like?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like don't be scared, I would say, is the big thing. You're stepping into something that's inherently kind of scary, going into a group of men that are much older than you and have more experience. And, you got to be able to play your game and not let the outside stuff get all nervous, I'd say. So just, don't get nervous, I would say, is the big thing.
Because in USL Championship, you literally were going up against folks that might have been twice your age at some
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And you got to carry that with you, that experience with you from USL Championship to MLS Next Pro. And I think that you can bring a unique perspective about what it's like going up against these older players because, yeah, you are 19, but you've been there. And I think that
Yeah.
that adds some credence to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously, this league isn't quite as old, or like they're not quite as, physical, but at the same time, it's the same direction.
You
It's
got
the same
Micheletto, who's 26, by the way.
That is true. Yeah, the vet.
Yeah. So, well, what's it like? Let me ask you this: what's it like learning from someone who's Marco's age?
Yeah.
Given the initial captaincy and things like that. What's it like to learn from a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to watch him because a lot of guys like that have ego and stuff, but he's so humble and so, charismatic and always talking, and like it's different because a lot of guys who have been in the league for a while, they'll be a little bit arrogant and kind of tough with the young guys, I'd say, but he's nothing like that. He's very open, and I think that's why he was the perfect captain, frankly. I think it was an obvious choice. So
Do you still have moments with that new friend of yours off to your left where you sit there, or do you still have those pinch me moments where, man, I mean, Marco, when I was talking to him, he's like, yeah, we wish that the season still had another like 3 months because we felt like we were just getting to full song. We've won a title, and it's like, there's nothing there. I mean,
yeah.
do you have a chance to sit there and sit back and enjoy this, or is it still just, it's like, boom, this just happened?
Yeah, it's weird because it's like it happened, and it's like, well, now what? You just keep going, I guess, and we keep, it's like now the only thing is to go back and win it again, I guess. So let's keep grinding.
Let me ask you this last question, and thanks for hanging out. Coleman Gannon
Yeah,
with
for
the
sure.
Columbus Crew 2 hanging out for a 1v1. What advice would you give? Because we all know these days that soccer talent can be 15, 16 heading to the pros. These kinds of things can be heading to MLS Next Pro on their way to hopefully MLS and beyond.
Yeah.
What advice would you give the younger you, 15, 16 years old, about the process and what you need to accomplish your goals? What advice would you give 15, 16-year-old players so they can work their way forward and be the best that they can be?
I would say outwork everyone, to be honest. That's how I did it, and I think that if you're just willing to keep going and keep grinding, and even in the tough moments, work harder than everyone around you, even if you're the young guy, good things are going to come to you. And I think that that's the main thing. Is just, I feel like some people, they get to and then they finally, they get to that point and they're like, oh, okay, well, I've made it, but you haven't. There's another step. You got to keep going. You got to don't become complacent with what you've done.
Coleman Gannon, Columbus Crew 2, part of the MLS Next Pro inaugural champions. And because as I'm watching on video, I know this for a fact because he has the trophy next to him as we're talking, as I'm staring at the video. Coleman, thanks for hanging out with us for a 1v1. Sure. Great to see you. Congratulations on everything that's going on up there with Crew 2. We'll be catching up with you soon, my friend.
For sure. Thank you so much.